All right, good morning. Thank you for your patience this morning. We had a lot of pictures, which you will see in just a few more minutes. We're going to get started this morning with our invocation from Pastor Rodney Payne, representing Bethlehem Star Baptist Church, and that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Millie Washington of Girl Scouts Troop 3504. As you are able, please stand.
Let us pray. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. We come this day grateful for another opportunity to gather in this way. Lord, we lift up our city leaders. Let there be unity, harmony, peace, and prosperity in our city. Lord, we pray for our first responders that you would keep them safe as they serve our city. Then, Lord, may people find this place as a city of refuge. And Lord, we're grateful for your grace and mercy upon us. Let us continue to live and dwell according to the richness of your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a lot of presentations this morning, so I will make my way to the front for Office of the Mayor. And thank you, Millie and Pastor Payne. Okay, why don't we get started with our folks here for America Recycles Day. Chris and your team, you want to, come on up, everybody. There we go. Here they're coming. Come on down, everybody. All right. Well, this month we are commemorating America Recycles Day, which is a great time to talk about this important service that our city provides. And to learn more about it, I would ask the clerk to read this proclamation.
Whereas Oklahoma City residents generate more than 250,000 tons of trash annually, and this trash is buried in a landfill. And whereas Oklahoma City residents recycle, on average, more than 15,000 tons annually through Oklahoma City's residential curbside recycling program. And whereas Oklahoma City's recycling program is the largest municipal recycling program in Oklahoma. And whereas the City of Oklahoma City serves more than 200,000 households monthly, providing collection services every other week. And whereas recycling saves precious energy, conserves valuable natural resources, protects the environment, reduces landfill needs, and has a positive economic impact. And whereas the city and its residents can do more to recycle appropriately through disposal of only the Oklahoma City residential curbside recycling program's accepted items. And whereas America Recycles Day is a national promotion to help raise awareness about recycling and buying recycled products. And whereas to focus the nation's attention on the importance of recycling and closing the loop, businesses, industries, government agencies, nonprofit organizations, and individuals have joined together to celebrate America Recycles Day. And whereas America Recycles Day encourages city staff, customers, membership, and all citizens to continue their reducing, reusing, and recycling efforts throughout the year. And whereas recycling correctly is good for the Oklahoma City community. Now, therefore, I, David Holt, Mayor of the City of Oklahoma City, do hereby proclaim November 15, 2023 to be America Recycles Day in Oklahoma City.
Thank you very much. Well, we sure appreciate what the city does, and I fill the, more than fill, the big grain every 2 weeks. In fact, I kind of like, am lightly advocating for a weekly pickup, Chris, but buy 2 carts, that's your answer. Yeah, that's good. But it's really important, and it's a unique service that a lot of communities don't have, so we're grateful for it. Chris, would you love to say a few words? We'd like to hear from you on America Recycles Day.
Thank you, Mayor Holt. I really appreciate it. Back in '94, we started our recycle program with the small blue containers, if everyone remembers. And they were very limited. We could only put certain products in there. And then in 2018, we upgraded to a large cart to where we could recycle more materials, including cardboard. And that made a huge impact on our landfills. And that's the primary reason that we recycle, to limit the impact to the landfills, to extend the life. This past year, we recycled over 16,000 tons. And we want to get better. We want to get a lot better. So with our partners from Waste Management, who collect and process those materials, we're doing a really extensive campaign to help people understand more about recycling, to help them understand what they should recycle. Because if they put contaminants in, particularly plastic bags, if you put your recycled material in a plastic bag and then you throw it in the recycle cart, well, guess what? That whole thing goes to the landfill. So we need to help people understand more about what to recycle. So we have a campaign. Waste Management's our partner in that one. And then with this proclamation today, we're getting some more exposure. In addition, Waste Management's going to take a bunch of books to the Metropolitan Library so the kids learn more about recycling and the benefits of recycling. And then on our Facebook page on November 15th at 6 p.m., we'll have some more information on the Recycle campaign. So we really appreciate everyone's support.
Yeah, thank you. Let's hear it for our recycling team. That's yours to keep. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Okay, so before COVID, we used to do the awards from the Mayor's Committee on Disability Concerns at a luncheon. And post-COVID, we've kind of changed our format a little bit, and I think it's great that the council and everybody watching on Channel 20 now gets to be a part of this. So we're going to do it here this morning, present the awards from the Mayor's Committee on Disability Concerns. And Sid Natrimmel is the chair and is going to join me up here. But honestly, I would love for the whole committee to stand up here if you're, or be up here with us if that's, I mean, you came all this way, might as well, right? So. So the Mayor's Committee on Disability Concerns was formed,
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it's over half a century old. Yeah, yeah. And, you know, it really does vital work in our community. And Sid has been the chair for years now. And of course, obviously, all volunteers. And we're so grateful for the advocacy and the thought that they put into their work. And one of the things they do that I think is really important is highlight the work of others who are doing great things in our city. And so today we're going to do a little bit of that. Now let me get my script that was so well prepared. Yes, yeah, by all means. Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, every October, in this case November, our city recognizes the great strides people with disabilities make day in and day out. And this year I proclaimed October, with the help of Vice Mayor Carter, as Disability Awareness Month. We always strive to do better for Oklahoma City citizens. Today, we spotlight some of the good works that are happening around us. We'll begin with the Don Davis Award, which recognizes an individual for extraordinary service that substantially advances opportunities for people with disabilities. Our winner today, Eddie Beasley, is not here today, but we certainly want to recognize him. He was a corporal in the United States Marine Corps in Vietnam. He was one of the first above-the-knee double amputees. He wrote Lucky Enough, relating to his experience in the Vietnam War. He visits VA hospitals, military hospitals, civic organizations, helping and supporting veterans, is an American Legion speaker, and does so many things, including starting a wheelchair basketball program. In absentia, let's hear it for Eddie Beasley. Can't figure out, yeah. All right, next we have the George Lewis Advocacy Award. This award recognizes an Oklahoma City area resident with a disability who has performed outstanding feats for the empowerment and or employment of individuals with disabilities. The 2023 George Lewis Award goes to Megan Rowan. Megan is an assistive technology specialist for the Services for the Blind and Visually Impaired Division of the Oklahoma Department of Rehabilitation Services. Megan's work is critical in helping clients find the right assistive technology for their employment needs. Megan trains them to use the programs or devices to ensure their success in life and their employment. Megan was the first Oklahoman to become a certified assistive technology instructional specialist. Being visually impaired herself, Megan knows what her clients are facing. She is compassionate and encouraging to those she assists. She is generous of her time, talents, and resources. Megan is active in quite a few organizations that advocate for accommodations, inclusion, and rights of people with visual impairments. She has presented to Oklahoma City Libraries, providing information and resources on how to serve their clients with vision loss. She helps train special education teachers of the visually impaired how to use assistive technology in the classroom. She is inspiring to others and is always learning and growing. Let's hear it one more time for Megan. Congratulations. Now to the Public Personnel Award. This award honors an outstanding public agency employee for contributing to the removal of barriers for individuals with disabilities. The 2023 Public Personnel Award goes to Brandon Trey Lewis from the Services for the Blind and Visually. Yeah, come on up, Brandon. Let's hear it for him. Brandon is with the, by the way, this is Shatner, which I'm sure there's a good, I assume, Trekkie story behind that, yes. But so Brandon is with the Services for the Blind and Visually Impaired Division of the Oklahoma Department of Rehabilitation Services. Trey, as you go by Trey, is a rehabilitation teacher. He works with clients who are seeking employment and need assistance in daily living areas, including adjustment to vision loss, braille, independent living skills, and utilizing low vision and adaptive skills. Trey has helped many Oklahoma City residents through his teaching. Trey carries his work into the community as well. He is a board member for Oklahoma Association for the Education and Rehabilitation of the Blind and Visually Impaired, and an active member of the National Federation of the Blind. He is a member of the Crossings Community Church and participates in the Oklahoma City Vipers rowing team for people with disabilities. Very cool. Trey has also been involved in the Oklahoma City Young Professionals Group for 2 years and is a sub-member of the Government Affairs Committee. Trey was named one of Oklahoma City's most influential young professionals of 2023. Trey inspires success in his clients and the people he meets because of his infectious personality, and has proven that just because a person is blind does not mean they can't excel in life, work, and community service. Let's hear it one more time for Trey. All right, the Pam Henry Award is next. Pam is such a beloved, was such a beloved member of our community. If you stroll around the City Hall grounds, you will see a memorial to her that I think 3 or 4 mayors were present for when that was dedicated on the southwest corner of the building, and we will remember her the rest of our lives. This award recognizes excellence in media materials about persons with disabilities. The Pam Henry Award goes to the Savannah Station Therapeutic Writing Program. Savannah Station helps writers with special needs and their families overcome life's limitations. Yeah, folks from Savannah Station, come forward. Achieve physical and mental well-being, cultivate cognitive, social, and emotional confidence, and defy their disabilities. Savannah Station created a new promotional video that shines a light on children with special needs overcoming life's challenges, thanks to special horses who love and provide amazing healing power. The video highlights 2 special needs writers and their accomplishments through therapeutic writing. Thank you and congratulations to Savannah Station Therapeutic Writing Program. All right. Next is the Inclusivity Award. This award recognizes an Oklahoma City area business group or public event that promotes activities with full accessibility for persons with disabilities. The 2023 Inclusivity Award goes to Sooner Success. Why don't you come on up? Yeah. Sooner Success held a first-of-its-kind free multi-night camp for children with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their typically developing siblings. For the initial camp, 10 families were served with a total of 23 children in attendance. The children came from all over the state, but the camp was held right here in Oklahoma City at Camp Trevera. The children enjoyed camp activities in combination with custom sib shop activities geared especially for children who have siblings with special needs. Sooner Success assured that all the kids were given every opportunity to participate in every activity. The sleeping quarters were accessible and support staff was available for those who required it. Let's hear it again for Sooner Success. Thank you. We have now the Employer of the Year Award. This award recognizes an Oklahoma City area employer, public or private sector, for outstanding achievements in employment opportunities for people with disabilities. The 2023 Employer of the Year goes to Mercy Hospitals. Come forward, yes. Mercy Hospitals are champions of inclusion for people with disabilities. Mercy views this as a social responsibility, recognizing that people with disabilities are capable workers when trained for any job. Mercy's Disability Resources Council is committed to providing employment opportunities and accommodations, valuing individuals for their capabilities rather than their disabilities. They have hosted summer programs for youth with disabilities in transition programs, organized hiring events targeting people with disabilities, conducted mock interview events, and encouraged other businesses to do the same. Mercy Hospital's Oklahoma City location has a new supported volunteer program that pairs people with disabilities with experienced volunteers who provide guidance and training during the first 90 days of volunteering. Thank you and congratulations. Let's hear it for Mercy. Thank you. Our final recognition goes to an outstanding individual for his service to the Oklahoma City Mayor's Committee on Disability Concerns, the Committee Member of the Year Award, and this year it goes to Keith Wilkinson. Keith is a member of our team. He's the General Services Administrative Manager and ADA Coordinator for the City of Oklahoma City. Keith served this committee with loyalty, dedication, and honor toward the betterment of Oklahoma City's citizens with disabilities. Keith is often the go-between for the city and the committee and shares valuable information during each monthly meeting. He keeps the committee up to date on the various projects under construction or in the plans. Well done, Keith. Thank you for your service to the people of OKC. And thank you to the entire committee. Thank you, Sidna. Thank you all. Let's hear it for the Mayor's Committee for Disability Concerns. All right, why don't we bring up our folks that are here today for Veterans Day. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sidna. So, of course, Veterans Day is coming up, and we have a great representation this morning of residents who have courageously served our country. And we'd like to hear a little bit more about Veterans Day, especially some of the activities around it here in Oklahoma City. And so I would ask the clerk to read this citation.
Whereas Veterans Day is celebrated nationally on the 11th of November, and whereas Veterans Day honors the patriotic men and women of every branch of the military who work to defend our nation, establishing an honorable tradition of dedicated service. And whereas the commitment and sacrifice of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and merchant mariners makes us immensely grateful and proud. And whereas Oklahoma City recognizes the dedication of the Oklahoma City-based veteran employer champions who demonstrate their commitment to supporting veterans in the workforce. And whereas the Oklahoma Veterans Alliance, OKVA, has diligently surveyed and evaluated these employers, awarding them the esteemed label of Veteran Employer Champions for their exemplary efforts in providing opportunities to veterans. And whereas the Oklahoma City-based Veteran Employer Champions are Arvest, BOK Financial, Center for Employment Opportunities, Community Service Council, Cox Communications, Harrison Energy Partners, Lowe's Companies, Oklahoma Employment Security Commission, One Gas, One OK, Public Service Company of Oklahoma, and TTCU Federal Credit Union. Now therefore, I, David Holt, Mayor of the City of Oklahoma City, do hereby recognize Veterans Day in gratitude to our courageous and dedicated veterans and commend the Oklahoma City-based Veteran Employer Champions, along with the OKVA, for their dedication in creating a brighter future for our veterans.
Thank you. And we have Rachel Runfola here to say a few words in relation to some of this programming that you just heard about.
Thank you, Mayor Holt. Well, in about 2017, Community Service Council, along with Oklahoma Veteran Alliance, began a program networking throughout Tulsa area of what we called veteran-ready organizations. And from that, we did the survey, and we recognized in 2018 about 20 employers who were shown as veteran-ready companies that assisted veterans, brought them into the work environment, and were ready to go for those veterans. Here in Oklahoma City, we started to reach out here, and we have had about 20 companies that have taken our survey. 9 of these companies are actually veteran ready, have completed the survey and hit all the marks that they need to. It's a pretty high mark to do that. So we are so excited to be here. We're excited that Mayor Holt, thank you so much for doing this and recognizing. I'm a veteran myself. I can't tell you how important it is to know that as you leave the service, there's companies out there welcoming you and being prepared to bring you in and provide employment. Employment is incredibly important, as everybody knows, and it's very important for veterans to be able to maintain and come from the service and come back into normal civilian life. So again, thank you, each and every one of you. Companies that took our survey, we really appreciate it. Thank you for those who not only are here in Oklahoma City, but Tulsa as well. We continue to expand across the state with companies such as yours, and we hope to see you here again next year with many more companies as well. So thanks again.
All right. Well, thank you, Rachel. Let's hear it for our veterans and the companies that support them. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. All right, Tommy Alexander. Come on down. Well, thank you. That's probably the longest presentations we've ever had, but you are going to finish us out. We are so grateful for your service to the kids of Oklahoma City. You're here today because you are our Teacher of the Month, but we'd like to learn a little bit more about you, and so I would ask the clerk to read this resolution.
Whereas Tommy Alexander has been named Teacher of the Month for November 2023 by the Millwood Public School District and Rotary Club of Oklahoma City. And whereas Tommy, affectionately known as Ms. A, is a third grade teacher at Millwood Elementary Learning Academy. And whereas Tommy, a true champion of education, believes that all students can and will learn. As a master teacher, she maintains high expectations for herself and her students. And whereas well respected among her peers, Tommy uses her strong leadership skills to advocate for the members of her school community and supports her colleagues by modeling best practices, sharing resources, and serving as a teacher mentor. And whereas Tommy is poised, energetic, confident, creative, and thinks fast on her feet, expertly balancing the social, emotional, and academic needs of all her students. And whereas Tommy's rapport with students and parents is nothing short of remarkable. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they do hereby recognize and commend Tommy Alexander on her selection as November 2023 Teacher of the Month by Millwood Public Schools and Rotary Club of Oklahoma City.
Thank you. Yes, let's hear it for Tommy. So Tommy has been teaching for 26 years, which is really amazing. Thank you so much. We'd love to hear a few words from you, if you don't mind.
I want to say, first of all, thank you for recognizing me. I really enjoy my job teaching. It is just phenomenal to work with the children and bring the education to them to where they are able to understand the next level of where they need to go. I have been at Millwood for 26 years. I started there in 1998, and I have been there all this time. So it's remarkable to see some of the students that I taught, now I'm teaching their kids. And it's like I just really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you again for recognizing me. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Yes. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. This is actually a resolution, so you're a higher level than everything else we've done this morning. We have to approve this with a vote. So let's see if we can get a motion and a second. We've got it. Please cast your votes. I wish to vote aye. Passes unanimously. All right, let's hear it one more time for Tommy. That's yours to keep.
Sir,
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you. All right, a couple more things under Office of the Mayor are just some appointments. These are all reappointments. Items 3B and 3C, these are appointments to the Port Authority and to the Traffic Commission. We can take them with one motion. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We are blessedly done with Office of the Mayor, and we can now advance to items from council. Item 4. We have here, to start with, 2 items from the Legislative Committee, which met, I guess, just last week, to consider moving forward and recommending to the council adoption of programs related to federal legislation and state legislation. And so we have items A and B here to that effect. And Jane Abraham, who has wonderfully assisted the work of the Legislative Committee for many years, is here to present on these items.
All right, good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Jane Abraham, Community and Government Affairs Manager. And I'll try to run through this quickly, cover a lot of ground, but I just wanted to start off just sort of outlining the process that we use to select legislative issues. So we go out, departments bring forward issues that they are seeing either on the state or federal level. Those requests can also come from other places, and then those items are considered by the Council Legislative Committee, as Mayor mentioned last week on Halloween. The committee reviews the items and then makes a recommendation to Council, and then staff will then work with our contracted lobbyists to initiate the legislation and move forward. So first of all, our priority issues on the federal level. So our federal issues don't really change that much from year to year. They tend to be very much the same. We advocate for transportation, investment in our city, et cetera. One of the things that is new this year is to better understand the impact of PFAS, which is a chemical that's found apparently everywhere, and then to protect municipal entities that may have come into contact with PFAS from liability on those issues. And then the other things are just to, again, continue to advocate for investment in transportation and infrastructure, and then also our economic development programs. And then also in the federal issues, there's another new item under support, and that is to increase access to mental health services, including school-based mental health services on the federal level. So there are some programs out there, and so we just want to advocate for their funding and support those. And then the other items are, of course, FAA, Tinker Air Force Base, things that we have in our community that are very important to continue to support. And then under monitor issues, those again don't change very much from year to year. We just want to continue to monitor those items that affect our community. So then, moving on to state. So just to recap, and I won't go over every little thing here, but just we did have some successes last year with several initiatives, simplifying 911 funding and also increasing it. And there was an affordable housing investment that was done by the state that's still kind of in the works. That they're working on the rules now. It's administered by OFA, and it will be a statewide program, but it invests $215 million in affordable and workforce housing. Another item that was kind of under our Landlord-Tenant Act policy item was to require eviction notices to be written in clear language, and we worked with a number of different groups on these issues. And let's see, try to hit the highlights. And also with SB 12X, which has happened in this special session, shifted transport of mental health to the Department of Mental Health and away from law enforcement. So that's something we've been trying to work on for several years. So under the priority issues coming up, these again don't really change that much from year to year. Transit funding is changed a little bit, looking to try to balance the investment in transit services with other investments in infrastructure. And then under our initiative items, so these are new, these 4 items. So the first one is to allow our municipal courts of record to determine their own closing schedule. Right now in the statute, the closing schedule for municipal courts of record is tied to the district court. And so we just want that to be able to, the presiding judge, James, brought this forward, that we would be able to tie the municipal court of record, the municipal court's closing schedule to the city's closing schedule. The second item is to allow misdemeanor DUI arrestees to be placed in public inebriate alternative facilities as opposed to taking them to jail. And so with the first offense, it's a misdemeanor, and right now they are required to take them to jail, but this would, we're looking for a change in the law to be able to take them to the public inebriate alternative facilities and have them connected to services. The third item, this came out of a Supreme Court case that changed the relationship between lake property or property owned by a by the water utility, that it can't be used also for recreational use. And so we're wanting to change the law to make that, to be able to do that when it makes sense. And then the fourth item is to create enabling legislation for parking districts, where we could contract with local organizations to manage parking meters, which is not currently allowed in the statute. And then moving on to the next slide. So the other new item is then to correct the mental health transport law. When it was put in place, there was one section that still had the old language in it that just needs to be changed to mirror the rest of the statute. And then the other items are carryover from last year that weren't accomplished, but we're going to move those forward and try to do that again this year. And then, let's see, under our support items, those are also all carryover items except for the first one, and that's to support efforts to update the Arbitration Act that has some old language in it dealing with the Public Employee Relation Board, which was allowed to sunset, and then also to support CLEAT enforcement of their rules. But the rest of these items are all carryover support items. And then under monitor, we do have one item that is new, and that's at the bottom, and that's to monitor issues related to excavation and the use of rights-of-way, which has kind of become an issue with everyone trying to build out infrastructure in the rights-of-way and excavation, and there have been damages to existing infrastructure, so we're just need to monitor and be engaged in that issue. And that is it for the legislative issues, but I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions, comments?
I have just a couple. I know last legislative session and probably the previous one, There were some asks about Human Rights Commission initiatives and efforts. I guess we're not doing that anymore?
So yes, that appears under our support items, and that's to consider and possibly support legislation that empowers municipal boards and commissions. So if the Human Rights Commission were to come forward with more some powers that they would like to see, or initiatives that they would like the city to advocate for, we would entertain, or the council would entertain that at that point.
Okay. Well, I see it's very broad, and I know
It
when
is.
we were asking, there were specifics. So I don't see the specifics that were asked. So that's my question again. Are we not doing that anymore?
Well,
So no? Okay.
the
That,
Human
I
Rights
have my
Commission
answer.
hasn't,
Thank you.
Hasn't asked for that, right? The Human Rights Commission did not give.
They-
But
they
at
have
at the same time, we did continue to say that we would support these efforts, and this was the ask of the task force. So it's not as if it hadn't been asked for. So I want to continue to reemphasize that it's not coming from just out of the sky, that we ask for these things to be monitored, supported, and also brought forth as far as state legislation to be supported either.
Any other comments or questions?
Yes. Mental health. So we added, and I thank Councilman Stone and Stone Cipher and Mayor Holt for joining me in that. But we've added at the federal level advocacy for mental health funding. And this was a very specific ask that I made. As I've said from this horseshoe several times, and I will say to the very end, you know, there's that Politico article that talks about mass shootings and how we can intervene. And it really will take the federal government. That if we were to invest, and everyone should make note of the actual dollars and numbers I'm about to share with you again, so that you can advocate to your congressional delegation. But for $35 billion, this country could employ and train 500,000 mental health counselors for $70,000 a year. And if we did that, peer-reviewed research tells us that we would have enough counselors employed in our schools to be able to recognize signs of disconnection and any of the other effects of childhood trauma. And that is actually how we can make an incredible impact regarding these mass shootings that are haunting our students. That is a huge part of the solution. So I'm so thankful that we were able to add that here. There's a specific legislation that this federal ask makes in terms of supporting the already passed Bipartisan Safer Communities Act that I saw that you added here, and I really appreciate you finding that. I have an ask, because this was new legislation to me. So of course what I'm asking for is $35 billion, and I will ask it every single time I can, because that's the whole solution. This looks like it's about $1 billion, and we also say that we would support other efforts, not just this particular Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which Congress already passed and President Biden signed into law. May I ask the city manager, I know we have staff that looks into federal legislation alongside Jane. I think, for instance, Ryan Baker's going through the infrastructure work. When I click on the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which I would encourage residents to do, there are several grant opportunities here. And I'd like to I am asking to dig down with you all into the specifics of these grant opportunities to find out what are some opportunities here as it relates to our upcoming Maps for Youth Center implementation? What are some of these grant opportunities that we could be encouraging, working with, collaborating with OKCPS and any of the other school districts? Millwood was here earlier that are within OKC boundaries, but I think it's going to take some actually digging down. There's several grant opportunities here that align with some work we've already set in motion. But I just want to say thank you for adding this to our support issue, and thanks for looking into it for us, Jane.
Sure.
Okay.
Mayor, me too.
Yes, please.
Jane, so a couple things on the state legislative issues that I need to kind of express my opinion on that I'm not in support of. So I can't support the misdemeanor change for DUI APC offenders because I think that is the opportunity that we have and that we need to take significant action on to prevent future occurrences. So I'm not going to be on board for that piece of it. And then when it comes to under support issues, the support legislation that empowers municipal boards and commissions, I think we need to be very careful about that. I look at our boards and commissions and trustees and all of those citizens that support many functions within our city as a support function to this council. And so what I don't want to have happen, because we're elected to represent the citizens of Oklahoma City, those boards and commissions we do appoint to, but we need to just be very careful about what level of authority that we grant those and how that might affect the decisions on this council. So I would just ask you to keep an eye to that as well. Thank you.
And so, Councilwoman, the process would be if a board or commission decided that they wanted to advocate for something, they would bring that forward to the city council, and the city council would be the ultimate decision maker on something like that. So if they wanted to ask for it would go through a process where it would be approved by the city council. We wouldn't just do that as a side issue, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
so it's just to put it out, to say out there that we do support if there's something that they're looking for. And it was kind of in the vein of the Human Rights Commission being brand new. And so, would there be something that they see that they desired to be changed in state law? So that was kind of the genesis of that.
Okay, I read this differently because what it says on the paper is consider and possibly support legislation that empowers municipal boards and commissions. And that is as a state legislative issue. So you can see where I was going
Yeah.
outside of this,
So we could look
outside of
at
this council.
Yeah,
rewording that maybe. Or
okay.
Thank you.
And I asked Chief if he'd step in real quick, just to give us a clarification on what we're trying to accomplish with the DUI.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
This would not negate the criminal justice process for a first-time DUI. They would still have to go through the court process, but what it eliminates is if they go through, if they're allowed to go to the public inebriate alternative instead of to jail that night, Metro Alliance has a lot of services that can get those folks started with, which is what PIA does. And what we're looking at doing with that is they would still have to answer through the court process. Most of those first-time DUIs are pled down anyway, but why not try to get those folks in some type of services to prevent a second-time DUI? I also think it would encourage officers to make more of those, get more of those folks off the road, because it eases the process in that first time, so they're not spending hours at the jail, but they're still getting the citation, getting the vehicle impounded, getting the person off the road, but then giving them the opportunity to go through services to hopefully prevent another DUI from happening.
Thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions on either the state or federal legislative programs? All right, well, we can take motions then. We'll probably do them separately. This would be, first up would be 4A. This is a resolution adopting the federal program. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. And then item 4B is a resolution adopting the state program. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes 8-1. And then finally, we have and by the way, thank you, Jane, for all your work. We have 4C. This is an ordinance to be introduced and adopted with an emergency extending current moratorium regarding our sign code. Councilman Stone Cipher is the author. Would you like to explain it?
I would, thank you, Your Honor. This is driven by a couple of cases that were decided, one out of the Western District of Oklahoma, and then another by the United States Supreme Court, referred to as the City of Austin case. It has required us to have some ongoing discussions to make sure that the ordinance satisfies the requirements of those two cases. So we have ongoing discussions. We have a consultant from Kansas City that's helping us make sure we get our sign code right, and so we just need a little more time. And I notice we need to adopt this with an emergency, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd move for the ordinance to be approved at this time.
Okay. So this is a motion to adopt the ordinance, and then we'll take a second vote on the emergency, which this is how we've handled this particular item several times before. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously, and then the emergency.
I'd move for the emergency at this time.
A motion and a second. Cast your votes. The emergency requires 7 affirmative votes, and it receives it. It passes 9-0 unanimously. That concludes items from council. We're now at item 5, City Manager reports. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We have the CVB report on for today. This is the first quarter report for 2024, for fiscal year 24. Don't really have a presentation this morning. Glad to help get answers to any questions from Zach and his team if you have any questions. Then we have claims and payroll, and there are no other items on.
All right, thank you very much. That brings us to Journal of Council Proceedings, item 6. We have items A and B we can take with one motion. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 7, request for uncontested continuances. Listed on the agenda is 11J. It is requested that that item be struck. What else might you have, Mr. City Manager?
Item 11D on page 13, this is SP 579. We have a request to defer this item to the 21st of November. Then on page 14, item 11L1, unsecured structures. Item F is 2404 Southeast 10th Street, re-notify as dilapidated. Item G, 2000 Northwest 14th Street, the owner has secured. Then on page 15, item 11O1 and 2, we're going to strike this item and we'll bring it back at a later date.
All right. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. That brings us to item 8, revocable permits and events. Item 8A is a revocable right-of-way use permit with Downtown Oklahoma City Partnership to hold the Oklahoma City Tree Lighting Festival November 16th on Mickey Mantle, in the only in Oklahoma City address of Mickey Mantle Drive between Flaming Lips Alley and Wanda Jackson Way. Holly Hoyler from Downtown OKC is here to talk about this always exciting event.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Holly Hoyler. I'm the Development and Events Manager at Downtown OKC Partnership. We're looking forward to celebrating the 22nd Annual Oklahoma City Tree Lighting Festival on Thursday, November 16th, outside of the ballpark from 5:30 to 7:30. This will have the road closure from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on that day. We invite the community to this free and open event that has many family-friendly activities, such as face painting, balloon art, activations from the Thunder and the Dodgers, Letters to Santa Station, and festive food and drinks and more. The event also features holiday performances on the stage on Mickey Mantle that showcase the many cultures and traditions that we have in our city and will get everyone in the holiday spirit. These performances, along with the other festivities, will take place before and after the main attraction, which will be Mayor Holt and Santa Claus leading the countdown to the lighting of the Christmas tree at 7 p.m. We appreciate the mayor's and the city's support of this event where we kick off the holiday season downtown, and we hope that everyone can join us in Bricktown next Thursday.
All right. Well, thank you, Holly. Councilwoman Nice.
Thank you. Holly, what a lovely name for the festive occasion. What time is the full event?
5:30 to 7:30.
5:30 to 7. Thank you. All right. And I know all of us are excited about this holiday season, and this actually coincides with what's going to be happening with the Riversport area because they're kicking off their season a little early. So all of these things will be happening at once. So I think this is beautiful, a beautiful time to do that. With that, I will move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. We'll see you then. Okay, item 8B is a revocable right-of-way use permit with Stockyard City Main Street to hold the Cowboy Christmas Parade on December 2nd on Exchange between Penn and Agnew. And we've got Kelly Payne here. Hello, Kelly.
Good morning, Council. Once again, it's that time of year. You just heard about another amazing event in Oklahoma City, and we're going to continue that on in Stockyard City on December 2nd. The parade starts at 10 o'clock at Exchange and Penn and heads west down Exchange and then south down Agnew to 13th, 14th Street. For the last 6 years, I've had the privilege of serving as a parade marshal. And this event just gets better and better, and it could not be without your continued support, as well as the last few years that you have outrageous support from the Oklahoma City Police Department, and I would be remiss if I did not tip my hat, and a little nod to Stockyards, to the Oklahoma City Police Department. We also have a great relationship with Oklahoma County Mounted Patrol. Safety is extremely a priority down there. We look forward to having about 40 to 50 different parade attendees this year, and last year we were over 5,000 folks in complete attendance. So we appreciate your continued support of this.
Thank you, Kelly. Councilwoman Hammond?
Yeah, I was able to attend last year, and it was like perfect weather. It was sunny and just like that right amount of crisp in the air, so it's a really great way to kick off the holiday season. So I'll move for approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously.
Thank you all.
All right, 8C is a revocable right-of-way use permit with Ventures Endurance Events to hold OKC turkey tracks on Thanksgiving Day on Harvey between 4th and 6th. And we have Melissa Hutchins.
Hi, good
Hodgson.
morning. I am Melissa Hodgson from Venture Endurance, and we are having, I believe it's our 14th annual OKC Turkey Tracks. We are trending towards like 2019 numbers, so it's pretty exciting this year. The 1 mile fun run starts at 8:30 and the 5K starts at 9. We're bringing back a costume contest, so maybe you can see more turkeys running down the street. We're usually packed up and gone by 11 a.m.
All right, well, sounds like a great event. Councilwoman Hammond?
Yeah, again, another fun event. We're kind of doing it backwards. We're doing all the Christmas stuff, and now we're Thanksgiving. So it's always fun to see all of the folks dressed up running around. So I'll move for approval.
I have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're now going to recess council and convene as the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority. We have items A through K, and executive session is not requested by staff on J2. We can take these items with one motion if that's the council's wish.
I actually would like for us to look at an executive session for J1. So I
Okay.
would like to pull that separately to vote.
Okay, so you'd like to make a motion to go into executive session?
Correct.
Okay, all right, let's handle that. All right, we have a motion and a second on a vote to go into executive session on item J1. Cast your votes. Fails 2 to 6.
Okay, I'd like to vote separately on that item.
Okay, why don't we take that item then? This would be OCMFA item J1, if we can get a motion for that item. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes 6 to 2. We're on now the remainder of the OCMFA agenda, items A through I and K. We could take all those with one motion. A motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We'll adjourn OCMFA and convene as the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority, where we have items A and B we could take with one motion. I have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We'll adjourn OCPPA and reconvene as the council. We're on item 9, the consent docket. There are no scheduled presentations. Are there any items members wish to pull out for a separate comment or vote?
Yes, item BT.
Okay. Any other items? All right, then we'll start there. Councilwoman Nice, item BT.
Yes, I know for sure I want us to vote separately on this item, but I do want to express my thoughts about this particular contract and the purchase agreement and the lack of equity of the school district in this particular purchase and selling of this property. I want to take us back to 2018, and that would be January, and that was well before I was elected in this space, that some conversations began as far as maintenance concerns to the building as far as drainage. And one of the things that's important to note here is the fact that this particular building has been sitting vacant for numerous years, several years. There was a request to look at possibly converting into senior affordable housing. That did not happen, and so therefore the building continued to sit. The parking lot, all of the parking lot had been dug up, therefore it was dirt, and we had some runoff that was running into the neighbors' homes and in their backyards, which was clearly an issue of the school district. Now, the S&I program spoke with Capitol View, and Capitol View did see this as a viable area for development of a community park. And so as we work through the Strong Neighborhood Initiative program with this particular neighborhood, we have been working on trying to acquire this property. The things that have taken place with this particular purchase have been very interesting, in my opinion, based on the school district, who I believe have been dangling this school along because of the things that have currently been taking place as far as the investment within this neighborhood. We've had a couple of other things that took place within Northeast Oklahoma City as far as the school district is concerned. One, the closing of Northeast High School to reopen as a whole different school. Two, the over during COVID, pre-COVID, which ended resulting within COVID, the sale of a school less than half a mile away that was appraised at $545,000, but sold at $36,000. Therefore, when I was aware of that and some of the other purchases that were happening within Northeast Oklahoma City as far as schools are concerned and surrounding communities as far as schools are concerned, that alarmed me because of the entity that is purchasing the building, quite frankly. And the fact that not long ago, I'm looking at another sale of a building. It was sold for $15,000. The purchase of another school was $15,000 on a Northeast 16. So if you can do the math with me, we're looking at a building that's appraised at over $300,000, and they want this city, our city, to pay that cost and not work with our city to counter and be equitable in the other purchases. So I will say thank you to our city manager, because I did ask that when we made this offer, the initial offer, that we offer the demolition cost, which is $100,000, because again, this is a school and this is what this neighborhood wants. And I want to let anyone, I want to re-emphasize to anyone who has said or thought that I don't want to support a park, you are wrong, because a park needs to be there because that's what this neighborhood asked for. I do not believe that this community should be held hostage, if you will, and probably not a good use of words of that, but I don't think they should be subjected to be in the middle of what the school district could have done many years ago in order to have this happen and ensure that this community got a park. Now, as we all know, when we look at S&I, Strong Neighborhood Initiatives, there's private-public investment that comes, and therefore, you know, there will be a lift of your property value and the things that can come with that. And so it seems now as if the school district wants to say, well, it's worth this, when in fact, it had been abandoned for many years, and just most recently, there are people that have been living in this building in this part of our community. So I do want to again re-emphasize that I do not believe our city should have to bear this full cost for the benefit of what the school district has asked and wanted to do. I did go to the school board meeting at the beginning of the month and expressed this same concern. And it was very unfortunate that the facilities director, vice president, manager, whatever his title is, did not mention to the school board that we had been in conversations about this building since 2018. The only thing that he told the school board was that no one put a bid in on this property. That is true, so I stand corrected, because I assumed that we had, because we had been talking about it. So I do stand corrected on that. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. But we had been in constant conversation about what to do and how to purchase this building for this neighborhood. And they kept saying, well, we may use it for the bond. We aren't sure what we're gonna do with it. So they kept giving us, as far as the city, and bless Ms. Debbie's heart, because she was emailing them every week to find out what we could do next with this facility, that here we are. And now we have to have the conversation of what this looks like. I will also express that there were 2 school board members that voted against the sale of this building and at that price, which also says to me that there is something wrong with this process. And again, this community should have this money in their coffer for them to help build out the rest of this park and not have to use all of these funds for demolition costs and a purchasing cost, and then work towards the rest of what they need for them to get this park finished and open for the public and for this neighborhood and community. So again, I want the neighbors to know I've always stood with you. This has never been an issue of me not supporting that. However, I do not believe this process was fair and equitable for this neighborhood to get to this point. So I will not be supporting the sale of the purchase of this building, only because I do not agree with the cost of this purchase of this building. And again, it's very unfortunate that the school district sees values in some places and not in others. And the fact that they can sell a school valued at more than this property for less than $50,000. I can't make that make sense, and I wish someone else could, because I can't. But I wanted everyone to publicly know, because I even saw how some news reports are trying to put it as if I did not support building of a park, that's absolutely false. And I want to reemphasize again, it's never been me not supporting a park. And for reference, I grew up in this same neighborhood, so I would never say no to a park or anything other to beautify this part of our community. But I do not agree with the process and how, in my opinion, the school district used this community in order to get what they wanted. So I'm pretty sure we may have people that have signed up to speak on this, which is fine if they have, but I wanted to make sure I stated that publicly so people understand where I stand, and I am not done with this conversation after this vote.
Okay, we don't have anyone who signed up to speak, and that was the only item any
even
council
better.
member had pulled out. You said you wanted to vote on that separately.
I would like to vote on that separately.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and handle that then? We'll take a motion on item 9BT. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes 6-3. We're on now the remainder of the consent docket. We could take that with one motion. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. That brings us to item 10, the concurrence docket. We have items A through K we could take with one motion. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. I now have to step away, and Vice Mayor Carter is going to take over from here, and I think he's even going to take my chair. Thank you, Vice Mayor Carter.
Okay, I apologize for the delay. So we are on item 11A. Let's see, this is an ordinance of final hearing recommended for approval on PC 10-893, rezoning of 9801 South Rockwell Avenue, Ward 3.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Is the applicant present?
Good morning, Mark Grubbs, 1800 South Sarah Road, on behalf of the applicant. This is a AA PUD to allow for the construction of a couple of home sites on the property. So there was no protest at Planning Commission. Planning Commission recommended approval, and I would ask for your approval.
It's not very often we see a
AA PUD?
Yeah.
That's right. We started off with an RA. We had to come back to the, Planning Commission was concerned that there would be too many houses built, which that allowed for 2 acres. This only allows for 5 acres. It's 18 acres. It's almost all floodplain. There's only a small spot we can put a couple of houses there, so I agreed to go back with AA.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. I'll move for approval.
And it passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item B, ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval. SPUD 1547, rezoning of 4107 North Georgia Avenue from R1 single family to simplify, SPUD 1547, Ward 2.
Hello, Fallon Brooks Magnus, Jolly Bird Design, representing the applicant. This is some old trolley right-of-way that we are repurposing into residential. It's just 6 units. We tried to make sure that they were small enough to kind of fit the neighborhood surroundings, unlike some developments that are happening in the area. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy. So I'll answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Would you just mind going back to that previous? Thank you. First, let me also just compliment you for working to complement the existing homes in the area, right? We don't have to replicate, but honoring that local history is important. Also, you know, when I think of Classen, which is just up the road from here, I draw such inspiration from that old trolley route that went right into this neighborhood to serve the people who would have lived along the transit route, right? And that's where you and I have spoken in depth about what I would hope to see Classen become over the next 10 years, really a boulevard that has better access to the new BRT, but also, you know, doing some infill with housing and ground level retail in ways that, again, respect the integrity of the neighborhoods, but just building on our past here. So I would move for approval.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we have a second. Please cast your votes.
Thank you.
And the item passes. Thank you. Moving on to item C, an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval. SPUD 1560, rezoning 1744 Northwest 15th. Ward 6. We have one person who has signed up to speak.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm guessing that's you.
Jeff.
I think actually Jeff Struble signed up to speak. And
Okay, well,
he,
if you'd like to take his
no,
place,
I'm
you're
just Adam Landman, the applicant.
If you could just explain a little bit about the project so folks know what's coming, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. Right now it's 2 existing single-family homes, and the SPUD prepared offers the opportunity to change those into more commercial use. In the event that they would be torn down, we're looking at sort of a mixed use with residential and commercial.
Wonderful. Well, it was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission just with a few TEs, so I will move for approval.
We have moved in a second. Please cast your vote. And the item passes. Thank you very much. Item D was previously deferred, so item E is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval. SP 580, establishing a special permit to operate use unit 8450, mining and processing, minerals and raw materials, Ward 7.
Yes, I know the applicant is here. Can you just please come and give us an explanation? I know it's kind of fixing up some of what's already been done here.
Yes, good morning. David Box, 522 Colcord Drive. Sarah, would you go back to the, one more, sorry, the aerial, shows the zoning. There we go. This is an application to clean up what's already there. So SP 543 was approved a couple years ago to allow mining of sand on the river. The legal description that was drawn at the time failed to include this piece. This piece is where the scale house will be. Scale house is a part of all of these operations so that the truck can be weighed before and after. This is just to clean up the currently ongoing operation. There was no protest at Planning Commission, and Planning Commission did recommend approval.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we understood what was happening. So with that, I will move for approval. You might as well stay close.
We have a second. Please cast your vote. And the item passes. Moving on to item F, ordinance on final hearing, also recommended for approval, is to close the west 7 feet of the east 15-foot north-south utility easement in Lot 15, Block 6, Highland Point, Phase 1. Ward 7.
All right. I would believe that most of our council members have been at least informed about what is going on with this particular application. I will ask Mr. Browning to come forward and speak to this. Now, what I am asking for us as a council to do is to deny this application so we can take this further for the legal, to take it through the legal process. And I wanted Mr. Browning and also if we need our municipal counselors to speak, would like for them to do that as well.
Thanks. Thank you, Councilwoman Nice. Chris Browning, Utilities Director. In this particular piece of property, the home is physically located 2 feet inside of the sewer easement, and the porch and overhang are both located within about 1.5 to 2 feet of the sewer line. The sewer line's about 8 feet deep in this location. And so any future work that would need to be done in this area would, in fact, cause damage to the porch and possibly the foundation of the home. So we've asked the builder to relocate that section of sewer line just on that property. The rest of there are 5 homes, and the rest of those homes do not encroach, and we don't have a problem with them. But this particular section where the home is set back further than the other homes, there would be a problem with any future repair on this sewer line. So we're asking your consideration in denying until the sewer line is physically relocated into an easement that has been provided, an additional 5-foot easement, so that we don't have any conflicts if we have to go in and make any repairs to this section line.
All right, I'm pretty sure Mr. Box has something to say. So I'll invite you, and then if we need our municipal counselors to rebut or speak through this, I'm happy to entertain this conversation today.
Sure. Once again, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive. So what's before you is a closing application to close a portion of a utility easement. There was a mistake made by the surveyor or the person that laid the foundation for the home, and the home itself was 2 feet into the utility easement. That is not an uncommon thing that happens. Mistakes in the field happen. So what we did, and we became aware of this because the home has already been sold. It's occupied by a homeowner. The homeowner was trying to sell the home. At that point, it became clear that the title company engaged, noticed that there was this encroachment. So we then set out to go close this so this individual could go sell his home. At the time of Planning Commission, the staff is present at all Planning Commission meetings, just like they're here at City Council meetings. A member of staff came to the podium, provided language that he said from a staff level would solve their concerns. That's why on your memo, you will see the amended technical evaluations. The amended technical evaluations didn't come from me. I'm not an engineer. It came from an engineer employed by the city, who at the time said that would solve the problem. So we agreed to it, we amended it, we moved on. Now you'll also notice there's been about 24 continuances. That's because after the Planning Commission, we got notified that despite the engineer that came to the podium and told Planning Commission this would solve the problem, perhaps it didn't solve the problem. So we were told you need to go pay money and acquire an easement on the other side of your property. So we went and engaged with the property owner to the east of our property line. We acquired, there we go. So we acquired 5 foot of additional easement from the owner of the land subject to PUD 62A. And then we're told, well, that's still not good enough. You need to physically move the line. This is a brand new line. Our engineer does not believe that the line needs to be moved. We're trying to remedy this problem. If this is denied, the only thing that can then happen is the city would have to sue this homeowner. My client doesn't own it. This landowner, this homeowner who's trying to sell the home is the person that owns the property. The title company, the first time around, missed it. The only way to remedy this would be to sue the homeowner, to force, I guess, a movement of 5 feet of sewer line that my engineer does not believe is necessary. So we're asking, on behalf of the current homeowner, that this closing application be approved. There is an additional 5 feet now that the city has to be able to work within. If, in fact, the sewer has an issue and needs to be moved, the overhang and the patio are easily removable. The home, the structure, is only 2 foot into the easement. So by giving the extra 5 foot that we've now paid for and acquired to the east, we have a larger easement, I think, than would otherwise be required in a new subdivision. So mistakes were made. We're trying to remedy that mistake and avoid this homeowner being sued by the city, and then what would, I guess, be a messy legal battle all over a hypothetical, what if something happened to that sewer line? So we're happy to answer any questions. Again, Dean Kalita is here to respond if the council so desires.
Now, Mr. Box,
Yes, ma'am.
first, 2 feet of the patio, why would you shave that off, especially if this is part of that home? Second, I think it's important for us, and I know the council has also been made aware, and this is probably where the municipal councilor needs to come and speak through this, that no, we will not be talking to the homeowner. We will be talking and taking this further to the builder. And because this property owner was not aware of what was happening after they made the purchase, it was only when they tried to sell the property that they found out that there were issues that would not allow them to go further through that process. So I'm not an attorney, but that sounded good to me. But please, if you'll help further explain on the city side what this process is, and to also, I just want to make sure we respond to what we just heard from Mr. Box.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Hall with the Municipal Counselor's Office. We all agree that the homeowner didn't build the house. We agree that the homeowner did not put and build the house on top of the city's 8-inch sanitary sewer line. But the house is there now, and so it's something that we have to deal with. And sure, of course, Mr. Box is correct. As we stand here today, there's not a problem with the sewer line. But I would encourage you to look at any agenda on the city council and see if we ever deal with sewer line issues. This is something the city has to be forward-thinking. You as a governing body has to think ahead and plan for these eventualities, and we all know that sewer lines fell and things happen. Yes, the foundation of the house might be 2 feet in. There's also a concrete porch back there, but what we're trying to resolve, closing this easement will not magically make the line move. We will eventually, at some point, have a problem with that line. It's just the way these lines work. And what should have been for the homeowner, the American dream of buying a house and be able to move into it and raise a family, has become somewhat of a nightmare. The specific contours of potential litigation that we might engage in as far as the city is concerned is a conversation best had, in an executive session. But it is not the city's intent and the municipal counselor's office desire to go after the person that did not create the problem. We have received as late as yesterday the easement that Mr. Box mentioned, the additional easement that they were able to obtain. And of course, as he said, this has been going on since August of 2022, and we got this easement yesterday, the original yesterday. And so it seems like we're having a difficult time getting the things that we need to ensure that the city's interests are protected. And so all we're asking, and if Mr. Box and his client, the person that built the house, is concerned about the homeowner, then to help us resolve this and to pay to move. We do not believe that it's the ratepayers' responsibility to take their money to move that line when they did not build the house on top of our sanitary sewer line. and that's the city's position. And we're trying to get it resolved as best as we can, but we think that that's something that the client should pay and not the taxpayer, not the ratepayers, who are also an innocent party in this equation.
May I respond? To be clear, the house is, nothing is on the sewer line. We're within the easement, but there's no structure on top of the sewer line. For sure, we have an as-built that was requested of us. We provided it to the city. There is no structure on top of the line itself. It's an encroachment into the easement. My comment about the homeowner is because from the chain of title, my client doesn't own it. There were multiple failures. The encroachment's a failure. The title company that insured the clean title to the current homeowner when he bought it, that was a failure. I don't know how the city can go after my client. He doesn't own anything. We believed that this was a remedy that would fix it. Again, it was only after we got all the way through Planning Commission that we were notified that it wouldn't fix it. So, again, the line is not underneath anything. The line is within the easement. Part of the easement is covered up by the structure, but the line itself is absolutely not. I assume you've seen the as-built.
That's true, yes.
Okay.
Councilwoman Nice, I've got a question for the city attorney. If I would like to request an executive session to discuss some questions I'd rather not ask up here, can we do that from here?
We can't, no, you'll have to,
Okay.
we don't have an executive session on the agenda.
Correct.
So you'll have to defer it again, and we'll redocket it next time with an executive session.
And I'm happy to do that because it sounds like there are some more things we probably need to look at. And with now, as of yesterday, this easement, and you know, I think that's the disappointing part, that we've had to defer this as many times as we have, and just yesterday we get an easement. That I don't understand that, but it's fine. But I think that shows where we are and have been in this process, and in my opinion, the unwillingness of the client for Mr. Box to work with our city to ensure that this property owner had a great experience of living in this home. And I also want to reemphasize that this homeowner and their family, who had twins after they moved, are no longer in this house. They're leasing it because of the issues that they had in this home. So there are some more things that need to be had, and even for me, I kind of picked this up as far as after we redistrict, it fell in my lap, so I've been working kind of backwards to get forward. But again, it's very sad to me to see how many times we've had to defer this, and then just yesterday, we have to have a conversation about an easement. So I will ask that we defer this for 2 weeks, and I would hope that within that 2 weeks, we get at least a couple of briefings in the conversation, so at least all of our questions are answered, and that our municipal counselors are able to assist us through this process and through the rest of this application requests for this through this time. And I'm hoping that when we defer, that this will be our last time to defer because this property owner needs some resolve. And I'm hoping that as a city that we can help him with that. So the request on the table is to defer 2 weeks.
So we've got a request for the 19th deferral. And a motion and a second. Cast your votes. And it passes. Thank you. Item G is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval. CE 1089, closing a portion of Northwest 65th Street right-of-way west of North Chartel Avenue and south of Northwest 66th Street, Ward 2.
Is the applicant here? There they are. Tell us a little bit more.
Yes, so this is a closing application that you saw, many months ago. It was ultimately tabled indefinitely to resolve a dispute with an adjoining landowner. My client acquired the property from the adjoining landowner to resolve the protest, the R1 piece that Ms. Welch is motioning over. So what we have now is a closing application for 65th Street. 65th Street, if you look at the aerial, has never been opened. It's trees and this, if you'll recall, the council approved a PUD for a multifamily project on this land, both north and south of 65th Street. This was the kind of the thing that would not allow it to move forward. So this will allow us to move forward. I will note we will have to come back for the north half of 65th, where it's adjacent to R1. We've already filed the application, so that'll come back to you in a few months. But this will clear the ability for us to move forward with the project.
Would you say that last part again? You're going to come back and do what? I'm so sorry. I wanna
So
make sure I'm
if you
understanding.
notice that the dashed line is not, there's a notch out of it at the top left. That was left off because we didn't own that R1 piece. My client has since acquired the R1 piece, so we will come back with that little sliver that is notched out of the current application.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification because this has been months long in terms of a process with the original multifamily apartments that you're talking about, having to sit with both legal representatives and with municipal counselors at each of those intervals. So I'm glad we're at this moment. I'm glad we're moving forward, and I'll move for approval. And I appreciate everyone working together on this one.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Now you do.
And a second. Please cast your votes.
Thank you.
And it passes. Item H is an ordinance on final hearing. Amy, do you have any signed up?
We do not.
Okay.
And we can take a vote.
So we can go ahead and take a vote on this item relating to personal and retirement systems. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your vote. And it passes. Thank you. Item I is public hearing regarding ordinance relating to motor vehicles and traffic. Amy, do we have anyone signed up for this?
No, we do not.
Okay. I will take a motion. No? No, sorry. This is public hearing. Okay. Moving on to item J, it has been struck, so we'll move on to item K, public hearing regarding dilapidated structures. No one signed up to speak? Okay. So we'll move on to K2, a resolution declaring structures are dilapidated. Please cast your vote. The item passes. Item L is a public hearing regarding unsecured structures. Anyone signed up? No one signed up. So moving on to L2, a resolution declaring structures are unsecured. I get a motion. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your vote. 11M, oh, excuse me, the item passes. 11M is the public hearing regarding abandoned buildings. Amy?
No one signed up.
Moving to 11M2, resolution declaring buildings are abandoned. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. And the item passes. 11N is a public hearing regarding resolution declaring certain property in the vicinity of 1131 Northwest 5th Street between Northwest 5th Street and North Klein Avenue and Linwood Diagonal to be surplus to the city, the needs of the city. Ward 6.
And
no one signed up to speak. No.
And we don't have to vote.
Okay. 11P1 is the resolution authorizing the municipal council to confess judgment without admitting liability in the case of Tory Dodson as parent and friend and minor versus the city of Oklahoma City. Executive session has not been requested. So we'll take a motion to vote. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. And the item passes. 11Q1 is a joint resolution with the City of Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority, authorizing the firms Collins, Zorn, and Wagner, PC, to represent city employees Brian Locke, Houston Dilbeck, and Michael Azam in the case of Thomas Adkins versus Brian Locke in the United States District Court. Executive session has not been requested. Take a motion in a second, please. Cast your votes. And the item passes 6-2. Item 11R, claims recommended for denial. We have anyone signed up to speak? Okay, so R2, executive session has not been requested, so we will take a motion for denial.
Yes.
Okay. The item passes. Okay, now on to item 12, comments from council. Ward 2?
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to express considerable gratitude to the nearly 400 Oklahoma Cityans who attended our Ward 2 homelessness meetup on November 1st. When I arrived after teaching that day with bottles of water at the back entrance to Tower Theater, where Ward 2 meets Ward 6 on Northwest 23rd Street, I could see straight through to the front of the building, and a line, a line was outside of the Tower Theater, as if people were there to attend a concert, and they were waiting patiently to enter. And inside, those 400 attendees had the opportunity to see and hear presentations regarding the root causes of homelessness, regarding the city of Oklahoma City's newly implemented Key to Home strategy. And then we had a panel discussion. And then from there, we heard closing remarks from Marcellus Miller, who serves on our youth demonstration board. And it was important to close with Marcellus's story because Marcellus comes from the experience of homelessness. And this is National Homeless Youth Awareness Month. And too often we don't ask our youth what their needs are and then how best to serve them. And that is what this board does. That is what Marcellus was there to talk to us about. Marcellus also, in their closing remarks, reminded us that in their own story, there's someone from Ada, Oklahoma, and there were no support services in Ada. I'm sorry, there are no support services in Ada. And so this Oklahoman found themselves in Oklahoma City where those services exist. And so I just really want to thank them for taking time to share their story and to talk to us about the importance of better connecting our residents to housing and community support services. It is also Runaway Prevention Month, and Marcellus spoke to that as well. They also reminded us, we just came out of LGBT History Month. LGBT History Present is that we still have too many parents and guardians who, because they have a different interpretation of their religious sacred text, often will kick out the child, right, if they are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or the kid runs away because no one at home has suggested to them that they would support and love them regardless of who they love. And so we got to hear that story that night, but I just can't stress enough how amazing it was to have the balcony full at Tower, to see 400 people there with open minds and open hearts. And now what I'm excited about is for the final 30 minutes of that evening, residents had the opportunity to connect with city staff and the service providers and learn more about how to plug in to help, whether it's mitigating the harmful effects of evictions or working with mental health providers, you name it, those service providers were there. And I want to thank those service providers for joining us. I especially want to share sincere gratitude with Assistant City Manager Aubrey McDermott, who helped coordinate this event to bring those service providers there to work with Tower Theater. I want to thank all the panelists and presenters, Lindsay Cates, for the coordination it took to make that 2.5 hours possible. It was a lot of work, and I'm just really proud of everyone rowing together. You might Google OKC City Council James Cooper, and when you do, the city's main page for my work as a council person has a 2-hour video that is uploaded under homelessness as a heading that the House creates, made for us of that night. So you can see my opening remarks, but then you can see the presentations from each presenter. You can see the panel conversation. By the way, this is a professional made video, so the sound quality is good, the visuals are great. I'm to understand we had just in when I put that up on my Instagram page and Facebook on Sunday, over 100 people watched, clicked on that. That's incredible. I know that doesn't sound like a lot of people, but for a city council issue and one as important as homelessness, that's a start, and I'm really, really excited about, and I will keep sharing that with residents over and over again. We also that night debuted a resource guide that the city of OKC has created that has contact information for the different providers in our community. It also has on there, and this is so important, and it'll be my message for the next year for sure, which is going forward when we see someone experiencing homelessness in our streets or in encampments or in parks or wherever you might see someone experiencing homelessness, contact our OKC Action Center. There's a number on that resource guide. You'll contact them, and that will alert us to send out our street outreach teams that have those case managers and those mental health providers so that we can begin the process of building trust with those who are experiencing homelessness and better connect them to those resources. So I just wanted to say that. The other thing to remind everybody is though the annual point-in-time count says we have around 1,400 Oklahoma Cityans experiencing homelessness, I would remind everybody that statistics also show us that, HUD, which does not include what they call couch homelessness, that's a shame because by not including couch homelessness, we are missing the nearly 3,000 Oklahoma City OKCPS students. That's what's missing in that count. You have nearly 3,000 of our young people. 4,000. Thank you, Councilman Hinkle. The number is higher, and that is devastating, right? So we have got to make sure that we are sharing these resources with our students, their families, our neighbors. The days must be behind us that we use all the dehumanizing names I hear people use to refer to the people who are experiencing homelessness. I would remind everybody that somewhere along the way, because of a lack of investment and support for the child grows up and becomes the person who we now have to connect to these services. And I know that's uncomfortable to hear, but it's true. We also know that over 12,000 people, if you need to correct me on this, please feel free to do so, but over 12,000 people have accessed homelessness support services in the last year. So that's an addition. So when we say a point-in-time count is around 1,400 people, that's just on that one night that we went out there and did the surveys from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. We say we have 1,400, right? But in terms of the numbers of folk who are accessing services in our city, that number is closer to 12,000. If you have a different number, please feel free to share, but that's the number I'm to understand to be true. I would also remind everybody that all of next year is our opportunity as council members to bring our residents along for the ride if they're not there yet in terms of how do we use our next bond to invest in our housing needs. Right? The previous bond had that $10 million investment in workforce affordable housing. right? But we have a $1.2 billion housing need. And I'm not talking again about our homelessness population, the people who are unhoused right now. I am talking about the people who are making $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year. One of our panelists, Gary Jones, for those of you who've already watched the video, you already know this, or for those of you who've been digging into this issue, you're aware as well. But Gary Jones, who with the Oklahoma City Realtors Association reminded us that the middle class, someone who's making about $66,000 a year, you know, that's the American dream we hear so much about. I made it to the middle class, woohoo! But what we have learned is that even someone making that $66,000 a year is way more housing unstable. They're actually but a few paychecks away from becoming one of the folks facing eviction, finding themselves under these bridges, finding themselves in an encampment in a park. That is true. And I suspect that's why when we get the calls and the emails we do, I think people subconsciously know this is true. And when they see someone experiencing homelessness, it doesn't take too long for their brains to project themselves onto them. And that is the fear. I think people know how insecure the middle class is right now. So, council members, it's time to bring people along for the ride. We have a $1.2 billion housing need, right? $1.2 billion housing need. We have 19,400 Oklahoma Cityans in need of 1 to 2 bedrooms. We could be doing infill like you saw Fallon doing over there around 39th and Penn. That's what we could be doing, building those 1 to 2 bedroom homes for people so that they have a place to live, so they can purchase those homes and actually participate in the American dream. So that's homelessness and housing, and I just can't thank city staff enough and the service providers and those who attended. Let me also say that I took to heart the invite the council received to attend Temple B'nai and the mosque where Imam Ahmad Anchazi serves, right? So my best friend Aaron and I went to Temple B'nai on Friday evening. We were there for 2 hours. We broke bread with them. Earlier in the day, we went to the mosque with Ahmad, and we attended their prayers, and then I delivered some remarks. And my remarks were as simple as this. If you're a Muslim, you belong in Ward 2 and in Oklahoma City. If you are Jewish, you belong in this city. Regardless of your faith, regardless of your, maybe you don't have faith in religion, but you belong here. And we must use that word belong. We must remind people they belong, that they are part of this city. When we don't do that, it is really easy for a madman to tell them, let me tell you why you don't belong. Let me tell you why. And now let's do something about that, right? So that was my message, is that they belong in our city. After the visit that Rabbi Harris and Aman and Chazi made, I was horrified seeing some of the comments on the local news channels and the comment threads where people would say things like good riddance to both of them. Y'all, the lingering remnants of white supremacy are not done. We have people who really, really, really do not like Jewish people and do not like Muslim people. And they're not afraid to say it in public, as it turns out, right? So this rise in anti-Semitism, this rise in xenophobia, this rise in Islamophobia, we must call it out and we must remind everybody that they belong in this city. On that note, I am devastated as someone who believes in nonviolence to hear these numbers. Right now, there are 10,000 Palestinians who have died in this war between Hamas and Israel. 4,237 of them are children. The Israelis lost over 1,000 people because of the violence Hamas did. We have to find a way to address this tragedy by working toward lasting peace. I do not know what we have accomplished with the deaths of 4,237 children. In my mind, I can see attending the temple and seeing one of the people there who is Jewish showing me a photo of an Israeli baby who is a hostage right now with Hamas. I do not know what this is accomplishing. I'll conclude then by saying I don't know what this is accomplishing because as a student of history, we must remember that medieval Spain holds, and I'm quoting now from the National Endowment for the Humanities, medieval Spain holds the distinction of being the sole place in Europe where Jews, Muslims, and Christians lived side by side on the same soil, frequently in harmony. They were neighbors, they were lovers, they were friends. That's what's possible. That is what is possible. I can't solve the Middle East, but I promise you, as long as I am in this seat, my message will always be that Ward 2 is for everybody. And I believe, just like the late John Lewis, that the answers to present day is in our past. I think we must rethink what happened in medieval Spain that made that reality possible. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ward 3?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Had the distinct privilege of going on another tour of our beautiful Memorial Museum this last week and visiting with the leadership there. And if you have not been to the museum lately, you should attend again and take your friends, all the new ones that have come into Oklahoma City in the last several years, because it is remarkable and it speaks to our Oklahoma standard and to how we expect to be treated and how we expect others to treat other people. If you were here in 1995 during that devastating event, as many of us on this council were, you saw that Oklahoma standard, and we stepped up for one another through all things, through donations, through time, through hugs, and we continue to see that in many ways today, and we need to continue to foster that and to revitalize that in our community as we go forward. And I believe the museum is doing a great job of telling that story and continuing to grow those efforts in our community. Next year is a landmark year that we will be recognizing, and so we look forward to the events related to that to continue the support for our beautiful museum and the Oklahoma Strong efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Ward 4? I'd like to just take a second to echo Councilman or Councilwoman Peck's deal with the museum and Carrie and John and just the way they received us and showed us all around, and it was an amazing time. Just things never really forgotten, but you got to be reminded of every once in a while. And then just a huge shout out to the OSU Cowboys for a great win. Go Pokes. Ward 5.
Wow. Last council meeting, Councilman Stone and I bailed early. We went to a neat ribbon cutting in Ward 5 for the Stephen Cohen Military Mental Health Facility, private dollars, building wraparound services for all of our service people, and it was a statewide deal. The governor was there, and there was a large contingent of our local politicians there, and it was a great deal. And I'd also like to shout out to the mayor and to Debbie Miller for making the trek down to Durant for the South Chambers Planning Retreat, giving us presentations. I know they have better things to do than the 3-hour trip that it is down there, but I'd like to thank them.
Thank you. Ward 6? Ward 7?
Yes, thank you very much, Vice Mayor. I do want to say a couple things. As we talked about commemorating the month of November, I also want us to remember we are celebrating 50 years of hip hop, but specifically in Oklahoma, we honor Hip Hop History Month. So November is Hip Hop History Month, so I'm hoping if you have not been well versed on somebody in the hip hop world, that you look to how you can at least understand how it became a name and a household movement, if you will, that has taken over music. I wanted to also say thank you to, I believe, to the third grade class that I spoke to and read with at Bodine Elementary. They were a joy, and all of the young ones wrote little letters, so I have a lot of writing to do to respond to the young people. But very grateful that you have the opportunity, anytime you have the opportunity to speak to or look at our youth and engage in conversation is a great thing to do. I know in the spirit of Veterans Day this Saturday, there is one amazing event that's going to happen, so I invite everyone to be a part of it. From 2 to 4, we're going to be, and it's actually starting now. It's happening this week, but it's going to be unveiled officially this Saturday at Pitts Park. It will be the mural unveiling of Captain Riley Pitts, and his wife, his late wife, is still alive. She'll be there. Their children will be there. Their family members are flying in from all across the country to be present. But again, this is in the spirit of not only honoring our veterans, but also honoring the legacy of our Black veterans, because there was a time where Blacks, African Americans, however you refer to, could not serve. There was a time they were not able to serve in the military until they could. And this was a gentleman who did not take his work lightly, as he sacrificed his life to save his soldiers. And for us to still speak the legacy of Captain Pitts, a graduate of Douglas High School, I think this is one of the best pieces that our city could offer. And if you are able to go to, I think it's Manuel Perez Park, and it honors all of our past veterans as well. His name is listed among those because he is the first African American to receive the Medal of Honor after he passed away. So many ties to our state, our city, and again, to the legacy of this gentleman. So I can't wait to see it, and I hope you all will be a part of what this brings and the legacy of the Recreation Center. Also, if you are in the city or around the city, you may see some boxes that are, when you walk in, we need your old shoes. So help us fill the box with your old shoes. This is an effort for the OKC MLK Alliance. And this is to help us get ready for the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade and the events and the festivities. And as you all know, our city participates. And as you also know, the route is right in front of City Hall. So it would be so helpful if we as a city could participate and be a partner in that. So I know you can do some fall cleaning. If you'll do that for me, just one pair. My mom has already given me some heels. Now, I don't know what we're gonna do with those, but I'm still gonna put them in the box. But your donations will help us get that to the finish line and help us with scholarships and for them to be able to award the prizes for the essay contest and all of the other things that they have to raise money for this effort. So this is a new effort for the OKC MLK Alliance as far as this donation and fundraiser, but I hope as a city that we can show we are the leaders that we want to be for our city by being the best giver of our used or new or gently used shoes towards this effort. With that, I say thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman, I'm so sorry, I meant to mention this, and just forgive me real quick, just since we're on your remarks. I am to understand a loved one in your life passed away recently, Miss Foxy Brown, and in honor of your friendship with them, and in honor of National Hip Hop Month, is that what we call it? Okay. From one of my favorite soundtracks, Set It Off, let me just say this. Now that you're gone, I can still feel you near, so I'll smile with every tear I cry, 'cause you were my sister, my strength and my pride. Only God may know why, still I will get by.
Thank you. And for those who know, I talk about my dog, Foxy Brown, often. She was named after the movie, the blaxploitation movie, and Pam Grier, but she passed away late Sunday morning, and she was 17. So I don't think a lot of us get the opportunity to have a dog that long. So I know you understand the pain that I feel, because that's almost a mini adult, if you will, of being able to have a pet for 17 years. But I'm grateful that she was here, and being a rescue dog, I mentioned in my comments, I thought I was rescuing her, but she rescued me. So very grateful that I was able to have her. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ward 8.
I just wanted to thank and express my gratitude to the council today for passing item 9AE and 9BG. That is to provide lighting and a water line to CB Cameron soccer fields. I want to congratulate Tim and Liz McLaughlin and Tommy and Gabby Noble. Since I've been on this council, they have been working tirelessly to improve the Cameron soccer fields well over 10 years. And this is another step towards their big goal, which is to provide national tournaments here in Oklahoma City and compete with cities like Frisco, Texas, and Overland Park, Kansas for those big tournaments in this area. So this is a big deal. Congratulations to the McLaughlins and Nobles. They have worked really hard the last 10 years, and not many people know what they're doing. Things like they're going to contribute 2 of the soccer fields out there with their own money. And so congratulations to the McLaughlin and Nobles. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 13, citizens to be heard. Steve Hunt. Thank you, Steve. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Just want to thank y'all for the time to be up here. September 26th, I spoke, said a lot of things. And when Dave had me speak after Gary, the owner and developer of the National, I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. And indeed, I did lose my job over my talk. 2 days later, they had me into the office and they said, Steve, you're a good employee, but we have to let you go for your political activism. Craig, you saw me there the day before. You came in with James Couch, and I said hello. I didn't, say hey, Anyway, I have been working 2 jobs, so I'm just working at the other place now. And this is one of the many methods of control that exist. We're 35 days away from the election, and we're about to be bombarded by ads from the self-appointed leaders of the Chamber of Commerce. Kenneth, thanks for having them reach out about whether them receiving $7 million from the hotel motel tax, if that's legal or not. That's something that I think about a lot because, the citizens gave $85 million to Texas-owned Omni, and they generate hotel motel tax money, and then that money is given to the chamber, who then propagandizes us, and that's just blows my mind. James, thanks for mentioning what's going on in the world right now. I can't think of anything more that we can do to address that than voting no on December 12th. Because we're in a time of endless arena subsidies and endless war. And as our native friends point out, everything is connected. I went and saw Killers of the Flower Moon, and I was amazed at the end of it when De Niro was like, why did you talk? That totally ruined our grift. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what Dave and the chamber are doing. They're refusing to have any conversations, and they're treating the movie as a how-to manual, and I'm just like, man, that's not cool. One more thing, the $1.2 billion housing is pretty ironic that that's how much they want for the arena. So those are my thoughts. Sorry, they're a little scatterbrained, but worked late. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. That concludes comments from our citizens to be heard, and we are at item 14, adjournment, and we are adjourned.